A woman invoked her liberal values by housing a Jordanian migrant, only to discover that the racist conservatives were right when she saw how he repaid her kindness. After compassionately opening her home to Jordanian migrant Mahmoud Jaber, right, Matilda Bodden, center-left and far-right, and her daughter, Grace, far-left, discovered that conservatives have been right all along about open borders. Photo credit Today Tonight. By distorting facts and playing on the emotions of millions of supporters, the left has convinced Westerners that the never-ending flood of asylum seekers consists of war-torn victims merely trying to obtain shelter. Disturbingly, these lies are not only devastating dozens of Western nations economically, culturally, and politically, they are endangering the lives of well-intentioned yet naive citizens. When Matilda Bodden saw the plight of migrants propagated by the mainstream media, she selflessly decided to open her home in South Australia to new arrivals in need of assistance. Having taken in recovering drug addicts, ex-convicts, and homeless vagrants, Bodden believed that lodging a foreign national couldn't pose any more of a challenge than her previous house guests. What she didn't account for is the deeply ingrained oppressive and violent culture that accompanies migrants from Islamic countries. After graciously welcoming Jordanian migrant Mahmoud Jaber into her home, Bodden was physically assaulted by her migrant guest, who has refused to pay $150 per week in rent or move out, she told Today Tonight. Jaber reportedly became violent when she tried to evict the illegal squatter for demanding to live rent-free in her house. According to the Daily Mail, Bodden feels that she should cease helping vagrants by taking them into her home. Her daughter, Grace, also fears that Jaber, who is still squatting rent-free in the home, will murder her mother while she is sleeping. As terrifying as it is that illegal migrants are committing violent crimes in their host countries, Mahmoud Jaber isn't even one of the illegal asylum seekers who've made their way into Australia. In fact, Jaber is in the country on a valid student visa, making his penchant for violent reactions all the more disturbing. It's terrifying to find out he could steal anything, he could harm me while I'm even sleeping, she said. He always had 1,000 excuses as to why he couldn't pay his rent on time, she said. But I accept that I'd taken high-risk people, so that goes with the nature of the territory. Unbelievably, when Bodden reported the incident to the South Australia police, they told her that they couldn't help her because it is a civil matter. From the situation explained to the patrol that attended it appeared to be a civil matter, therefore the police patrol have no right to evict, he said. The patrol remained at scene for a considerable length of time observing both parties to ensure no substantive offences were committed. It is quite apparent there were attempts by both parties to influence an action by the attending patrol with allegations made by both parties without corroborative evidence. Likewise, Australia's Home Affairs Department gave an apathetic and scripted response when informed of the disturbing event. The Australian government takes seriously its responsibility to protect the community from the risk of harm arising from foreign nationals who choose to engage in criminal activity or other serious conduct of concern, a spokesperson said. The left-leaning politicians and media are responsible for these consistent attacks on citizens by foreigners who refuse to respect Western culture, values, and laws. They have fooled compassionate individuals into thinking that all cultures are equal and that believing otherwise is racist and bigoted. Mass migration, either self-induced or by force, is the means by which inferior cultures can topple even the most powerful regimes in the world. Flooding a nation with millions who adhere to an oppressive and violent ideology is more than enough to fundamentally transform a country within a few generations. Now, the freest civilization in history, the West, is sacrificing its exceptional liberties and monumental success for the left's failed idea of multiculturalism and diversity, which is nothing more than an ideology of suppression and homogeneous thinking. Facebook has greatly reduced the distribution of our stories in our readers' news feeds and is instead promoting mainstream media sources. When you share on social media, however, you greatly help distribute our content. Please take a moment and consider sharing this article with your friends and family. Thank you. Australia homeless Islam police racism.